I've got a script and I still can't fucking stick to it. Hi friends, welcome back to the channel and welcome if you're new. My name's Jess or Jeffy and this is, I had to really think about that because I got sidetracked looking at my own subtitles then. We're back with Pleasantview 25 years later. So we're doing a history of and then where they are now. So we are on to the Broke family, who are one of my favourite families actually. I always used to play Brandy and Dustin and Bo, and I remember having like my own music hooked up to the game. I nearly said speakers then. So your own music would come out, and I vividly remember having a really emo playlist that had All the Small Things on, and now every single time I hear All the Small Things by Blink-182, it makes me think of the Broke family in The Sims 2. So there's a little bit of trivia for you. But yes, the Broke family, who I also for a really long time thought was the Brooke family because I'm thick. But anyway, I digress. So what we're doing is a brief history of, and then we're going to go into what they've been doing in the 25 years since we first meet them in Pleasantview, and where they are now, basically. So we're going to have to start with The Sims 3 because we're doing it in chronological order, and we start in Riverview. I've written myself a script, so if I'm looking down, that is why, because I will not remember all of the stuff I want to say. So I've got like bullet points. So Riverview is a store that... I've got a script and I still can't fucking stick to it. Riverview is a world that came with the Sims 3 store. It's actually free, so if you've got the Sims 3 and if you've got a account, which you can just make if you don't have one, you can actually download Riverview for free. It's a town that's set on like the Simian River. That's the premise of it, I think. But anyway, Bob and Betty Newby are just teenagers at this point, and Skip Broke is just a child. So Bob lives with his parents, Robert and Moggs, oh my god, and Mags Newby, who recently moved to town. They have a good relationship together. Bob is a good bookworm, he's a slob, he's artistic. It says that he struggled to adjust to his new life in the town until he met his girlfriend Betty Newby. Actually, it's Betty Simovich, but we know her as Betty Newby. He has one painting skill. So you go, Bob Ross. We love that for you. And then there is Betty Newby, like I said, but she's Betty Simovich. So she also lives in the town with her parents, Fatima and Vadim. I think I'm saying that right. Vadim works in the science career, and Fatima dreamed of being a rock star, but she put all these dreams on hold to raise a family and had Betty. And she hopes Betty will become a star because she couldn't, which Vadim doesn't really understand, but he's like, whatever. Betty's traits are good, artistic, unflirty, and virtuoso. I think I'm saying that right. I always want to call it I can't even fucking say it out loud, but in my head I can say it. But either way, in my head I say it wrong anyway, so it doesn't really matter. She likes music, but she doesn't want to be a star. It's like that constant thing of EA where they will make a family and the woman always has these big dreams, and then she has a family, gets a husband, and just doesn't bother doing them. So Fatima is another victim to EA's fucking 1950s bullshit. But anyway, I digress again. The Broke family are also in town. They're a really large family. They live in a trailer park, and they're known for being the poorest family in town. There's Flat and Flo Broke, who met in high school, stayed together, and had 2 children, Ruby and Skip. Skip is just a child at this point. Flat's brother Brooke moved in with his 2 children as well, so there's loads of them living in the trailer. All of them have part-time jobs. None of them have got full-time jobs. Most of them have got the slob and the party animal trait, except for Skip, who doesn't. So he has light sleeper, neat daredevil, so he's quite different from his family. Skip's bio states that although he wishes his family would tidy up more, he knows he's loved. So although they're messy and very different, he's like got a happy childhood. They're all quite happy, to be honest with you. And that is The Sims 3. The only other time you see any of the Brokes in The Sims 3 is in Lunar Lakes, but because each world is set on like a different timeline, supposedly, that one is like in the future after The Sims 2, and there's someone called I didn't write this down because I wasn't going to put it in, and then I've gone off piste. Octavia, I think her name is. Anyway, she's Octavia Broke, but she's rich, I think. from what I remember. I was doing a little bit of research before, but I didn't think I'd put that in, and then I've said it anyway, so there's her. And I'll try and remember to put a picture in of her or something. Anyway, then moving on to The Sims 1. We have the Newbie family, which is the tutorial family. So it's Bob and Betty Newbie, who are now married. They are obviously adults. They're new to the town again, and they live in a small house with a little pool. Bob is presented as a slob, and his marriage to Betty isn't that great. They're only friends when you start the game, so you have to like work on their relationship and stuff. I mean, it could be worse. Betty is considered a traditional housewife, and she never became a star like her mother wanted. Another shout out to EA for being 1950s housewives. We love that for them. Except we don't. In The Sims 4, is that the mantra for all of the women? I say this as if The Sims 4's got any lore and actually bothers to think that far ahead. They probably don't because they probably haven't thought about it. Anyway, really not the point. The Sims 2. So, in between The Sims 1 and The Sims 2, Bob and Betty had a daughter called Brandy. Brandy married Skip Broke, and they lived with the Newbies for a little while, which we know from the family albums. There's a picture of it. But when we actually start the game, Bob and Betty are dead, Skip's dead, Brandy's living in a trailer in Pleasantview. She's still very poor. She has Dustin and Beau. Dustin's a teen, Beau's a toddler, and she's pregnant again, but we don't find out that she's pregnant until we start playing her, and then she gets her pregnancy belly. Her children are all Skip Brokes. There was like people were talking at one point, I don't know if they still are, about whether unborn baby Broke is actually Skip Brokes because they look so different, but I think that's just an oversight on EA's part. If you get the Meet Me to the Rivers clean template, which I talk about in probably every single video of mine, you can get the clean one, and then the baby doesn't end up just being a Brandy clone. You can have a girl, you can have a boy, whatever. But if you don't get that, it'll always be a little boy, and it'll always be a clone of Brandy. So Skip, like I say, is dead. He died in a pool ladder accident, which is being treated as suspicious and unsolved. The pool is still in their garden, and it doesn't have a ladder. The theory goes, or like one of the most popular theories, I think, is that Brandy killed him by removing the pool ladder because he was a romance sim, so he was possibly cheating on her. I haven't actually found any other theories out there, so if you've got any or you've come across any, I'd love to hear them. If you pop them down below, and we can all just speculate wildly, which you all know I love to do. Skip over that bit. Dustin is, like I say, teenager. He is portrayed as rebellious. He isn't doing too well in school, and he works in the criminal career track part-time after school. He's actually the only income they have within the household. So personally, I think he's just trying to do what he can to bring some money into the household, because he probably sees himself as having to step up to that role since his dad's gone now. And like, he's only just lost his dad, so it's like kind of no wonder his grades are suffering. When you first play them, he'll arrive home with a bad report card, and Brandy will always lecture him. And his bio states, Dustin's rebellious nature gets him into trouble, but deep down he wishes people would just tell him what to do. So I think, again, it's just that he's trying to do what he can and muddle through, but isn't 100% sure of the right thing to do. I don't think he's a bad sim at all. He's dating Angela Pleasant. They're very different, and he's enemies with her dad. I'm actually covering the Pleasants in next week's episode, and I'm going to go into that a little bit more since it's her family. I'd rather cover it in their video, which will be the next one out. And then Beau is a toddler. His bio states that Beau finds it hard to escape his genetic destiny, but maybe with his mother's help, he can beat the odds, which is a lot. Like, are you okay, hun? You're a toddler. And when you first load in, you are prompted to try and teach him to walk, which you'll do, and it happens really quickly. And then he grows up really quickly after you start playing that household. I've got a feeling it's like the first or second day you start playing them, something like that. Anyway, it's really soon, and then she pops out the baby, and that's basically where they are when you load in at the beginning of the game. That's the history of them. And next we will do where they are now and what they've been doing in the 25 years since then. So let's go. Okay, so where are they now? So 25 years later, we know that when we first load in that Brandy's pregnant. So she gave birth to a little boy called Freddie, who looks a lot like her, but isn't a clone, because like I say, I got the Meet Me to the Rivers clean template, which I bang on about all the time. So she had little baby Freddie. And then with Dustin being a teenager and starting to think about college, Brandy realised that she couldn't really rely on his income anymore, and she needed to work something out because it wasn't really fair on him to be the sole provider. So what she did was she spoke with her friend Nina. But I did their calientes last week, but didn't include it in there because it didn't feel that relevant. But anyway, she worked with Nina, and Nina helped babysit for her so she could get a job. So she worked in the dishwasher career track, and Nina would come and pick up the toddler and the baby for a couple of hours while she went to do that, and then would bring them home again after. And she started saving up all this money so Dustin would be able to go to college and he wouldn't need to be as stressed. So it meant that she could provide for them. They still lived really frugally because she wanted to save, but it meant that she'd save like a decent chunk so he could go to college when he kind of came to the end of his teen years. However, when it came to the end of his teen years, Dustin had decided that he definitely didn't want to go to college, and it wasn't something on his radar at all anymore. Like he had no interest in. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I sounded like a Wookiee then. So he had no interest in actually going to college, and obviously he was dating Angela Pleasant, who was pushing him to go to college, and because it wasn't what he wanted to do, he became increasingly uncomfortable and ended their relationship, which she did not take well. And I don't think I've told you this yet, but I lost all the pictures when I was making the move from my laptop to my computer, so I lost like a chunk of theirs. I've got the end stuff that I did on the computer, but I'm missing some of the stuff from Dustin, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it, besties. So he broke up with her. She didn't take it well, but he knew it was the right thing to do. So what Brandy did with that money instead was bought a modest little bungalow in a nicer area. Oh, that's a good clip. In a nicer area of Pleasantview for her and the kids. It was a 3-bedroom bungalow, and she was really happy with that. There was enough room for her and the children, and with Dustin moving out, it made things a bit easier as well because each of the boys could have a room of their own. So Dustin, like I say, didn't want to go to college, so he moved out. He'd been working quite a lot throughout his school years and his teen years, and he had saved like an okay amount of money because after his mum stopped relying on him, it meant that he didn't need to buy everything for them anymore. So he actually was able to afford a tiny little garage, which he started working out of initially, and then eventually he could buy his own shop. But he did not so broke car repairs because he realised he had a knack and a passion for repairing old cars. So he now has his own business, Not So Broke Repairs, which he runs, and it's really successful. Quite a lot of people in Pleasantview buy their cars from there, especially people that are into older cars that have been done up, because he specialises in vintage cars. And one day he was at a car show trying to like scout out potential cars he could like maybe buy and carry on doing up, when he bumped into somebody called Amara. And she was there because she also has an interest in old cars and she likes doing them up as well. The pair instantly hit it off and actually began dating. They ended up moving in together after a year of dating, and she came into the business with him and they run that together. And they're really happy. It's actually a really successful business. So they've managed to buy their own house together now, and they're engaged. And not only that, but like in the following 10 years after this, where they saved so much, Dustin was actually able to buy another business, which he surprised his mum with, and he bought her an old rundown diner, which he helped her do up, and now she runs that. So that's Brandy's Diner, which I've done a speed build on, which I'll put up here. So if you want to go and see it, you can go and watch that one. I was really pleased with how it turned out, actually. Sorry, I'm touching my face tons. I feel like I've got dog hair on it. Okay, I think it's gone. So yeah, Dustin bought that for Brandy, and Brandy and Amara get on really well. She gets on well with all of his family, which is really nice. So Brandy sacked off her job in the culinary career track because of her new diner, and started putting pretty much all the hours under the sun into that, and was able to take on 2 employees. So she took on someone to be a waitress, and then she took on Sid Roseland, who is a pre-made that came with pets. He became her chef.
And then one evening, while they were working on a tasting menu, Sid and Brandy stared across that creme brulee at each other, and all of a sudden lightning struck and they were like, oh my god, we're in love. And it was all very magical, very beautiful.
Brandy and Sid, they'd worked really closely together, but they kind of had a bit of a crush on each other. And like I say, they were doing their tasting menu together one evening at her house, and they just realised that they had a bit of a thing for each other. And Sid asked Brandy on a date, which she initially said no to, because he was her employee, so she didn't really feel comfortable with it. But in the end, she decided, actually, you know what? He wants to, I want to, let's go on a date. So they actually began dating and they hit it off really well. He has a dog called Porthos, something like that. I can't pronounce it. And she's got a cat called Pockets, and they introduced the pets and they got on well. And then he finally met her boys and they got on well as well. And then after a couple of years, Sid actually moved in with Brandy and the boys with his dog. And they and obviously brought over his household funds, which meant that they could build an extension. Is that the right word? Extension on the house, so they didn't up a floor, so they could have just a bit more room. He carried on working with her at the business. They worked really, really hard, and actually the business is now a rank 5, which I'm really proud of myself for, because businesses, especially restaurants in The Sims 2, are hard, and I'm always crap at them, so I'm really pleased with how that's gone. So they worked there together, and then one evening he proposed to her over some creme brulee, and she said yes, of course. And they planned their wedding. She only wanted like a really small wedding, but she wanted it to be, she still wanted like the dress and all of the jazz, but she didn't want it to be a big thing. So they had a wedding party at home and everyone had a great time. They got married. It was all very romantic. They decided not to go on a honeymoon because they didn't feel like they could really warrant it, what with the business and all the other expenses, because Beau is also at college and Brandy's helping him out financially. With Beau, he was a toddler when we started, and Brandy taught him his walking skill, and then he grows up really quickly after. He did well throughout school. He was quite motivated to learn, and when he was a teenager he wanted to go to college, so he was quite a geeky little kid and he didn't have many friends at school, and he's now a young adult and he's at college. And he's just sort of got there. He's declared a history major because he wants to go into the military, because he likes things very sort of like strict and regimented. He likes a routine. He really struggles if things aren't in routine, and he likes to know exactly what's going to happen when they're going to happen. He struggles in social situations and things like that, and is hoping to navigate his way through university and make some friends and come out with a good degree. So that's what he wants to do, and Brandy is helping him out financially. He's still got a great relationship with his brothers and all of his family, in fact, but that's where Beau is. And Beau's popularity, by the way, which is really ironic considering he really struggles in social situations, but he really wants friends. So he rolled the super popular aspiration because he desperately wants that closeness and wants those friends, but doesn't quite know how to navigate it. So it'll be interesting to see how he manages that. He currently is best friends with his 2 pets, so he's rolled the want to have a 3rd pet best friend. So whether he goes down the route of having mostly pet friends or real friends, pet friends are real friends. Don't let my dog hear you say that. Just pets we'll find out. And Freddie is a family sim. He wants to fall in love, have kids. He absolutely loves being around his family. He's really close with his mum, his stepdad, and all of his siblings. And he is still finding his feet. He doesn't know if he wants to go to university yet or not, but he's a teenager, so he's still got time to decide. And then shortly after Brandy and Sid got married, she fell pregnant with their first child together, and they had a little girl called Nellie. She's got dark brown hair like her dad, but looks quite similar to her mum. She's very cute. And she's a child now. She was taught her toddler skills by her mum and her dad, and she aged up well. She got all of her toddler skills. Then a few years later, Brandy fell pregnant again with another little girl called Helen, and Helen was actually taught all of her toddler skills by her brother Freddie. So she's still a toddler, but he's already taught her all of her toddler skills. He's working on nursery rooms with her at the moment, and he's like really heavily invested. So instead of getting a part-time job, he negotiated with his parents to stay home and babysit while they work at the diner. So instead of working there or getting a job, that's what he wanted to do. And they were happy with that because he's really responsible, and that's sort of them. Brandy wants to have more children. Sid is now a secondary family aspiration sim, so whether he rolls anymore wants to have more children, we'll soon see. But like I say, they're getting older, so they need to start thinking about whether they're going to have any more sooner rather than later. And so far, Brandy hasn't rolled the want for 10 children, which I'm very pleased about, because personally I don't really want that for Brandy in this rotation, partly because that's what we're doing in the Uberhood, but also because it's not my vision for her. She's a boss ass bitch and she's got her business, and we love that for her. But that's the Broke family right now. The pets get on well. The kids are all really happy, And Brandy's got a thriving business, so does Dustin, and life is good. Amara and her parents, her mums, they live in the town and they live not too far away. They're desperate for grandchildren, but they both get on really well with Brandy as well. And they actually meet up, the three of them, and have sort of girly evenings and stuff like that and have dinner together quite often. But both the families get on really well, so we'll see where it goes and what's going to happen. I absolutely love the Broke family, and I've kind of gone very like nuclear family, traditional almost route. And I'm quite happy with that because I feel like Brandy deserves the world. I love her. I love the diner for her, and I love how it turned out. I'm really happy with that. And ideally, I think I know where Freddie's going to end up. I think that I like the idea of him working at the diner with his mum after the kids all sort of grow up a bit. But I guess we'll find out what happens with him. He is still only a teenager, and we've got Nellie, Helen, and possibly more babies to come. But that's them for now. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you like what I've done with them. I think it's kind of a traditional route for Brandy in the sense that cooking makes sense for her because she has a lot of cooking skill points. And yeah, I just feel like it makes sense. That's what I did with them. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. If you would like to join the Discord, I'll put the link down below. I stream over on Twitch 4 times a week. At the moment, it's a little bit different because of the Christmas period, but generally it's every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday. Yeah, let me know what you think of Brandy. Let me know what you think of the family and what they've all been doing. I'd love to hear your input, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!